Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow tennis star,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids, and we like to review movies. Today, we'll be reviewing Challengers. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome, great to have you here. Don't worry if you haven't seen this movie yet. We won't spoil anything in, let's say, the first 10 minutes or so. Then we'll give you some background, and then we'll get into our play-by-play where we start, really spoiling some scenes. But again, if you haven't seen it yet, don't fret. From 0 to 5, Mike, are you ready?
I am.
Challengers, what'd you give it?
I think I'm going to start with a 3.
Okay.
So I did really enjoy it. I think the cinematography was great. I really enjoyed the performances. It's nice to see Zendaya, I
Mhm.
think. It's nice to see her get a chance to show her more mature side. Obviously, getting away from the Disney Channel kid thing and in the MCU, high schooler thing. So it's nice to see her kind of take on a more mature role after like Malcolm and Marie a few years ago. So I think that was good. Like I really enjoyed the performances. I think the cinematography was great. It was very interesting to see them. And I've said this one with I didn't realize how difficult it was to do action scenes and then sports scenes, right? Just for like to keep up with something going on a field or a court or whatever it is and make it compelling. So I really enjoyed some of the shots trying to, not all, but some of the shots during the tennis scenes. Cause it was like, tennis is not really a sport I know much about. Like when some of the opens come on, I'll turn it on or something like that. But it's not something I know a lot about. So like this one was interesting to watch to see how they gave you a peek into the world and also told a more I guess a different story outside of just tennis. So I really enjoyed some of the cinematography. The performances are great. I think the wardrobe was really cool too. Like I didn't realize how much outside of like a period piece, but how much wardrobe really adds to the aesthetic of a film.
Sure, yeah.
I think some of my biggest gripes were I think the sound mixing, like some of the music it's not that the music was bad. I just think they played it at weird times, like to build tension or something that in a scene, especially like there was a kind of back and forth between two characters in that scene, but it was just like the music was so loud that I couldn't hear what was going on with the dialogue, and it was like clearly this is a very tense scene. I get that, and the music was adding to that, that tenseness, but I can't hear what the fuck these two people are saying. So it takes away from it because I feel like I'm in a different room, like with my hand to my ear to the wall, trying to hear what's going on. So I think some of the sound mixing was really interesting and kind of took away from certain scenes. And then I don't know, I didn't really like the non-linear storytelling.
Okay.
It seemed like it just kept jumping back and forth when it could have just told for the most part, a linear story, because I think that's what they really wanted to do. It seems like, because I went back and like kind of watched it, like jumped through it again today just to do the recap of the plot. And what I realized, it was just like, for the most part, it was a linear story. They just kept jumping back to the present for the most, and it was just like you didn't have to really do that. I don't think it was really that necessary, at least in my eyes. But there's also, I think, with a movie like this, with the story they're trying to tell, a lot of it was given away in the trailer. I think the teaser was fine, right? When the first teaser came out, it was just like that scene with the three of them on the bed. And it was, okay, fine. What is this movie?
Yeah.
But then as you got closer to a release date, the longer trailers came out, and it was just like, so you kind of get an idea of what's happening here. So with them trying to tell this story in a non-linear fashion to I guess confuse the fans, or like not the confuse the audience, sorry, or make it more complex. But it was like, bro, we saw the trailer. You're not really you're not taking me out of this. I know what's gonna go on for the most part.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think I didn't like the non-linear storytelling for that. Sometimes it works, like in a Memento or something, in that way. But I really didn't like the way the story was told in this. But I think that was it. Like I said, I'll have it at a 3. I wasn't really excited to see this one per se, just because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of dramas, tennis like that. I like Zendaya. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna get it right. I promise. But yeah, so I think it was a cool film. Very interesting. Very interesting characters. I think the story's kind of been done, but I think I like how they weaved a kind of a love story with the idea of tennis,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kept pushing this "Are we still talking about tennis?" thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was more layered than that, more complex. So yeah, like I said, I liked it. The performance was great. The cinematography was great. The wardrobe. I just had issues with some of the sound and some of the way he decided to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't really take me out of it. So I'm going to give this one a 3.
Cool. Great. Yeah. You challengers. I'm giving it a 4. I thought it was very good for across the board. I think it needs to be said. All right. Tashi, she belongs to the courts. All right. You just got to let her be on the courts and let her do her thing, man. Because, it was. All right. So breaking it down, I think it was heavily stylized in a good way. I think the main three, I'm blanking on the other two gentlemen's actors' names right now, but I think
Mike and Josh.
All did phenomenal. I think every main character was really rock solid. I didn't see a lot of the trailers, so I didn't really know 100% what was going to happen. And so I was like, okay. So I walked into it, and just to get drawn into this, crazy polycule love triangle thing, and at the same time, like have Art and the relationship between the two friends, Art and Patrick, building off of that, I was like, okay, interesting. So yeah, I thought that was really good. I thought it was really compelling. It was tense at times, and I was like, I don't fully know what's going to happen. I was frustrated with characters and character decisions, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. That just means this is a very fucking dysfunctional relationship on so many levels. And it's okay because that is fictional and not real. Because I was like, there are times I was like, what are you doing right now? Stop it. That's like, how am I supposed to root for you right now? And like, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter because this is, just a different kind of relationship. And it's a movie. And it drew me into that world. I will say, from a soundtrack perspective, I love the soundtrack because I really like Trent Reznor. He's 9 Inch Nails. And so he has like that synthy kind of like heavy beats and bass line. And there was another guy, Atticus something, I think, who also did it.
Atticus Ross.
Yeah, Atticus Ross. Yeah, thank you. The very solid right there that I liked. I do agree with you though that there are a few times in this movie where I was like, I can't hear because it's too loud right now. Part of me wonders if they meant that as like a way to like show that like the character itself can't focus or can't really think or pay attention to what's going on to them at the moment, and like it was like a stylistic choice.
That's interesting. I couldn't tell if it was more like the Family Guy joke, the interrupting trumpet.
Yeah,
where it was just like it's getting loud until the actor has to overtalk the trumpet. Because I agree with you. I enjoyed the music. I had no issue with the music. I think it was just like how it was infused in the film at times that bothered me. But then no, I agree. The music was great.
Yeah.
But go on.
I think from like a story perspective, I thought it was very well written. All three characters were very flawed individuals on differing levels. And they were all trying to just figure out what the hell they needed in their lives and to go forward. When I first saw the ending, like, so I literally just watched this like 45 minutes ago was when the ending happened, basically. And I saw the ending, I was like, what the hell? I don't know how I feel about this. But even from reflecting on the past 45 minutes, I'm like, it's like you don't get a full-on resolution of what's going on. You don't. It's a piece of what's going on. And I think upon further reflection, I'm actually more okay with that ending. I still am wondering what the fuck's going to happen with these people after this thing and how they're going to possibly. But that's like the real world me coming in here being like, how the hell is this dysfunctional bullshit going to fucking fly, when they get off this damn court? That man just wants to be a dad now, all right? What the fuck? But from as movies go and the stylistic with it, it was really good. It was really good across the board, I think. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But because I'm still not sure how I feel about some, and I recognize it might literally just be because the subject matter and like trying to be like, that's not healthy. These people aren't healthy. That might be knocking me down to a 4. But no, I enjoyed it. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. So let's get some background on this thing, Mike. What did you find, sir?
Got it. Okay. So Challengers was originally supposed to be released like sometime in August last year. Okay. But because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, it got pushed. So the actual release date is April 26, 2024. The runtime is 2 hours and 11 minutes. The budget was $55 million. I think as of right now, the projected opening weekend is about 12 to 15 million. So we'll see. I think there were a lot of Zendaya fans that I did see yesterday because I went to see two movies yesterday.
Okay.
So I was in the theater for like 4 hours. And I did see, I think, a bunch of young girls or like maybe college age women going to see this one.
When you said
particular.
young girls, I thought you meant like 8-year-olds, and I was
No,
like,
sorry.
Okay, cool.
Right, I want to say like teenage to like early 20s. Definitely in the same way, like when I went to see Barbie, you see like groups of women going to see
for sure.
So I think a lot of Zendaya fans were eager to see this one because they had a bunch of showings yesterday. Rotten Tomatoes, I didn't check it. I think it was at a 95, but that was like before the movie's release.
Yeah,
instead of 91, it says, but I don't know. It literally just came out, so like you said, I think maybe the critics really enjoyed it, and if you're a fan of the actress, then possibly, and that might amp up the score as well. But we'll see. Once again, it's the first day. The genre is a drama, romance, sport, directed by Luca Guadagnino. Excuse me, an Italian director who also did Call Me by Your Name, Suspiria, and Bones and All. The cast is Zendaya as Tashi Duncan, Mike Faust as Art Donaldson, Josh O'Connor as Patrick Swig, Arnold Appling as the umpire. Sorry, Darnell Appling as the umpire. AJ Lister as Lily. Nada Despotovich as Mother Duncan. Naheem Garcia as Father Duncan. That's Tashi's parents. Sorry, I don't want to make that sound religious. Haley Gates as Helen and Jake Jensen as Finn. And then the tagline is "Her game, her rules." Definitely, I can feel that one.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And then some of the trivia I found. So, like the writer of this is Justin Kuritsky or something like that, who is the husband of Celine Strong, who wrote Past Lives last year, which is a really good movie. Kind of low key, but I think it got nominated for an Oscar and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
And then this is another interesting fact that I found. It was like, so there have been 3 women that have played Mary Jane in the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
And each one of them, and Kirsten Dunst, Emma Stone, and Zendaya, have also done a tennis-related film after Spider-Man. So Kirsten Dunst did Wimbledon, Emma Stone did Battle of the Sexes, and then now Zendaya has done Challengers. So that was like an interesting bit of trivia that I found.
I would know this is probably one of the horniest tennis movies of all of those. I mean, I'm just saying, Whew. Yeah. I'm glad.
You know what's funny? I'm realizing that because like, there's been this whole thing about like the current generation not liking sex scenes in films. Like they don't understand the need for them. And I was watching this one and obviously Love Lies Bleeding a few weeks ago. And I'm just like, get to the story. Like, I'm not freeing at all, but I'm just like let's speed past the sex scene. What's going on? Okay.
You sure that's not because we're sitting alone in a theater surrounded by people?
I was in a room with 2 couples. So fair enough.
It does. I mean, I watched this, there weren't a lot of people in the theater I was in, but like I'm there by myself and I'm like, am I a creep for watching this right now? I'm like,
I'm taking off my glasses to show that I wasn't really watching it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all the background that I have.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right. So now we're going to start getting close to our spoiler section, everybody. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, I'm giving it a 4. Mike's giving it a 3. I'd say, yeah, it's worth seeing. And especially if it's struggling in theaters, we want to make sure that artsy, stylized films get, the proper love and support they deserve, because I think it is worth that. But before we get into our spoiler section, a quick word from our sponsors. Hey, what's up? I'm Edward Hunt. I'm I wear many hats. See, that's why I have a bunch of hats behind me. But hat number 1, I'm a real estate agent on the Milan Babington team with Compass. We are one of the biggest and best teams in the DMV. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you need any help or want any advice on the housing market, feel free to reach out anytime. But honestly, it's more than that. We have phenomenal lenders, phenomenal contractors, and can really help you with anything home related. So even if, you need some landscaping done, feel free to reach out. I'll connect you with the right people. Also, hat number 2. So I'm on this hat. I'm Edward Hunt of Hunt Comics. I have a series, Evil is a Weapon. Issue 1 is on Global Comics. You can also order on Amazon. I have a website. You can order some stuff there. Check it out. Hey, we have stickers now. Oh, and a whole bunch of things going on with that. So we're steadily building that up. But yeah, feel free to check out everything and then let me know. All right, spoiler part now. How does this movie start? What's really going on?
Real quick. Sorry,
Oh,
real quick before we
yeah.
start. Because I really have things to plug, but it's April now. But in June, I'll be participating in the push-up challenge again.
Oh,
So it's just like kind of this mental health and fitness event focused on pushing for better mental health for people. And so you basically do a push-up for every suicide case the year prior, just to kind of decrease the amount of suicides in the world. So I'll be doing that in June, just so if
awesome.
anybody wants to like donate or just join me, I'll be adding more information in the episodes coming up. So
Love it.
just a heads up for that.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we can start.
Perfect. So how does this thing start? What's going on with this? They're playing tennis, right? You know?
They jumped right in. I don't even think there was any trailers or anything. They just jumped right into tennis because that's what the people want, apparently. But yeah, so we opened up in New Rochelle, New York, at the Challenger finals. It's 2019, and the final is versus Donaldson versus Swee. I think that's how you pronounce it. Art versus Patrick, basically. So we get a few. This is their first set, and we get a few like a few volleys back and forth. And you see that kind of like they're very much evenly matched, but like I think initially Art is struggling against Patrick, and then it jumps to 2 weeks prior. And this is like, well, we'll talk about like I said, we'll talk about the storytelling and how the jumping back and forth. Let's fuck with me at times. I'm sorry. But it went from 2 weeks or a few days to like years, and then like it kept. And I was like, "Gee, all right, please."
It did hop around a lot, so it could be a little hard to like to put up that.
And I was like, I was less frustrated with Memento. That movie was awful. It's like you knew it was right.
Well, you had front and backwards. It was like the crisscross.
Anyway, so it's opening with the tennis match, the first set. And I think, like I said, from the jump, it was really interesting to see how both difficult and how capable this director was with directing a sports scene, right? Like with because obviously it's funny. This whole movie is like as an audience and like the people that were watching the match, and the audience that was watching the film. Tennis is very much just a back and forth, like just looking from one side to the other. But it was like he was able to show what was going on on the court, and you were lost, right? And I was like, I compared that when I was thinking about it. I was on my way home. It was just like you compare that to an action scene. Like we complained a bit with the shaky cam and Monkey Man, and then I had just watched Boy Kills World right before, so I went from heavy action scenes to sports action scenes, and I was like, they were both done very well in both those movies. So it was very interesting. But we do get, like I said, so this is the first scene that's opening up to the finals at the Challenger between Art and Patrick, and then it jumps to 2 weeks prior, and we see like kind of Art and his wife Tashi. They're like preparing for one of his matches somewhere else. I can't remember where they were, what circuit it was, but you just see that they're very well off. Like she's both his coach and his wife. We get a little bit of news position because they're watching like ESPN. They're talking about him. He's won several Opens, but he's never won the U.S. Open. So like winning that would give him, I think, the Grand Slam or something like that, which is I think was very coveted in the tennis world. And so we see him. He's with the trainer, like stretching out. We get information about how he's just come back from an injury, and we see a few scars like on his shoulder. So he's coming back from an injury. He came back strong. His wife is his coach as well. So we see her like kind of strategizing, like looking at on her computer, like as to help him, with the strategy to defeat his opponent, as well as running his the foundation that they run together,
Hmm.
and like they're working on some campaign with Aston Martin, where like she's editing not the flyer, but the ad that'll go out in the magazine, but also on billboards and stuff like that. So like we just get a glimpse of their life. They have a young daughter that travels with them, as well as I think Tashi's mom.
Hmm.
Um, so just like you get a glimpse of their life, right?
Yeah.
And before I didn't talk about one of my gripes too is like the excessive use of slow motion. I will forever blame Zack Snyder. I swear to God, like it was like towards the end of the movie. I'm just like, bro, we're almost done. If you
Yeah.
could speed this up, this could be over. But anyway, uh, he's preparing for his match. I can't remember the guy's name. It's not that important.
Yeah.
Um, but he goes off to start the match, and he's a little stiff to begin with.
Well,
Um,
like, because
yeah,
right up to like the beginning of the match, I'm like trying to figure out what the hell is their relationship right now with this too,
yeah,
him and Tom,
hmm
because it seems very cold. It seems,
hmm
especially for her, very distant, on it.
yeah.
And even I think around this time too. No, he says it later. Later is when he says "I love you" and she says "I know." But like
I know.
even with this, yeah, going up to it's very odd. Though something that I thought was interesting and why I wanted to bring this up too was part of his like getting ready for the match focuser thing he does is he's like chewing gum. Then when it's time for him to go, he spits his gum in her hand.
Yeah,
And I'm just going to put that here because whoever his like partner or supporter is at the time, he spits his gum in their hand. But it was very
yeah.
interesting to see this build up. And I'm like, okay. Like, does she even really like him? Well, actually, no, at first I was like, does he like her? Because at first it seemed like he was super distant from her almost, I think, leading up to the
Mhm.
match. And then you get a quick switch later. But yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They do give they give these hints early on
Mhm.
that it was just like because even like they said it that he's I can't remember if she's the TV um, announcer said that she's his wife and his coach or his coach and his wife,
Oh,
and which
yeah. I
he
remember that.
situated those titles right
Hmm.
because that it is very indicative of how their relationship works.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so you're right. Yeah, so they have these moments before the match. He goes into the match. They just show you a few back and forths, and then it just jumps to afterwards, and you see that he's lost.
Hmm.
That he lost the match, which I kind of had. So I don't know why I thought he would lose it because I thought it was the match the finals that we were seeing in the present. I thought that was what this was since it was 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, and it showed like the bracket on the wall, like right before they announced that they're getting ready. It said the top half and the bottom half, so I assumed it was one of those like it's a double elimination type of thing.
Yeah.
So and since he was in the finals, I assumed, but it was like that had nothing to do with it at all. I'm just like trying to like keep up, trying to
Mhm.
take notice of things
Yeah.
for later because this definitely seems like one of those movies. There's not necessarily foreshadowing, but it's like putting little hints here and there
Yeah.
that you would hopefully pick up on as an audience. But yeah, so he loses the match, and then while they're like reviewing it online, uh, this is where you get more of that coldness, and it was like
Yeah.
very much she's more his coach
Hmm.
than his wife or his partner.
Yeah. And then you get more with her too, because she even says, she's like, if I had such a great recovery from my injury, I
Yeah,
would stab
all right.
somebody. I would have
Yeah,
stabbed, like, she was like a child, an old lady. I don't care. I would
yeah,
kill somebody to have your recovery. So you see, like, more with her now of like, oh no, like, even though you kind of know from the trailers and everything, she had an injury and everything, but you're like,
yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah.
no, she is really like from the beginning. I'm like, oh, she's living vicariously through this. She is projecting her fucking,
Yeah. And it was like, yeah, even when she said that line about like I'd kill, it didn't
yeah.
seem like it was satire
No, it was not. It was
at
it was
all. I think I
100%.
tried to laugh because I was like, I know she does have that bubbly side,
No,
but I think this character and like I'm talking about Zendaya,
no,
I
yeah,
think this character there was nothing but like seriousness in her tone and
100%.
in her delivery.
I'm going to try to
Um,
not beat this with a dead horse, but all of these people are very dysfunctional. Like, like she would have literally done anything. Like,
mhm,
she would like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, like, she would kill people to play tennis. Let's just put it that way.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so after she mentioned that they say that she's gonna get him like, so like kind of, what do you want to do next? What are our next steps? And basically, she mentions that there's a smaller tournament, like, because he just needs to. He's coming back from the injury, and you can see that. And I was like, that's one thing I do respect about a lot of athletes that come back from injury, like having to shake off psychologically the injury, not necessarily physically.
Yeah.
But like to get out of your own head to come back, you're not going to come back 100%, but you would hope. That's why like Derrick Rose was like like somebody I looked up to, because he got injured, and like when he came back, you would have never known.
Yeah,
because he was still jumping out of the damn gym.
Yeah, because he got injured constantly too, right?
Yeah, but it was just like every time he came back, it was like it didn't, until it was just like he realized, I want to be able to walk my kids down the aisle, and stuff like that.
Until he realized, he's like, no shade, but until he realized basically like his tendons and ligaments were made of paper at this point. He's like, all right, time for me to get the hell out of here, because
But all that to say was just like, it is something to get out of your own head after an injury like that,
sure.
As an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even like after I hurt my knee, like I was fine to get back in the gym, but it was just like I was just scared. Like I didn't want to, because it was like more of a freak accident. It was like, so that means it could happen at any time. Yeah. And it took a while for me to get out of my head.
Yeah, well, that's the same with football and everything too. Like you get dudes roll up on your knees. Like I've sprained knees, shoulders, ankles, everything. Luckily, nothing has ever been that I've never needed surgery. I've been lucky with that. I've gotten close where like the trainer was like, yeah, if this doesn't really heal, you'll probably want to get like surgery for that. But luckily it did all right. So it was fine. But yeah, no, I mean, all of a sudden just, it just happens, unfortunately, like a slip happens, something, and boom, like you're fucked. Yeah.
And so she mentions that the fact that like they can put him in a more like a smaller challenger with people that won't intimidate him across the net because he doesn't know them. And he's like, then we can use that confidence to build up to get you to the U.S. Open. And so he agrees. They find the New Rochelle challenger, the one that we saw from the beginning of the film. And so that now they get him signed up for that. Yeah. And then shortly after, and like I said, periodically there are jumps back and forth to like the president, which was like a bit annoying for me because it was like the president is just the tennis match. Which is obviously important. It's a tennis film, but it was just like, no, what's this background to these characters?
Well, that's where I disagree, because you see to the end, and that's where like from further reflection on this, when you get the ending of this film, why it makes so much more sense. What
I think the ending, yes. Like, so if it were like for set number 3, yes.
Yeah.
But it's because of the fact that you've gotten all this information. Those initial ones didn't matter to me.
But so that's the thing, though. Like, and you're right, the initial sets don't matter as much. But as we learn more, it starts to mean more and more. So
I think they could have saved it for after learning more about these characters' backgrounds.
Yeah,
because I saw the trailer, I knew that they had the relationship. But if I hadn't, I'm just like, who is this guy? We don't know at all, and it was just like, it's not compelling. It's like you're not even questioning it. It's just somebody across the that you introduced.
This that I, as someone that didn't really see a ton, I didn't really put it together until, because I was even like, where's them? Like in the trailer, they're all young. They're old here. What the hell? I'm confused. And then all of a sudden, then it goes to like 13 years in the past, and then like them young, and I was like, oh,
that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. Like obviously, it built up to the match later. Well, you need that information. And like initially, not real. But anyway, once again, it's two different opinions.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So after we find out that Art's getting signed up to the New Rochelle Challenger. Then we meet Patrick. He drives into town. He tries to check into a hotel. His car doesn't work, and we kind of see the other side of it, right? So like we met the Donaldsons, and they're obviously very wealthy, and all that. They have all the best facilities, best trainers, all these different things. And then we meet Patrick, and he can't even check into a motel, basically.
His credit cards getting voided and everything. Yeah, like he can't. Yeah. And
so like he tries to sweet talk the concierge or whatever, saying he's a tennis player. He'll get paid tomorrow, and she's just not having it. It's just like, I still need a card on file, sir.
Yeah.
And so there is a little moment. I don't know how important it was, but it was like there was a couple that kind of saw him, and like one of the guys was like, "Don't you even start!" Like to his husband, I assume.
And with that, honestly, I would have been very curious because that's where I saw it going when you met that couple. Because he
Yeah,
tried
yeah,
to hit
yeah.
on the wife, or not? He tried to hit on the lady at the behind the front desk. That didn't work. And then there was like the gay couple behind him that were into it. I was like, okay, I thought he was immediately going to like switch and be like, hey, I just need a room. Can I hang out with you,
Yeah.
gentlemen? Instead,
hmm
he didn't.
That's what I thought
Yeah,
too. So when it didn't, I was just like, so what was kind of the
yeah.
point
Kind
of
of what
that?
was the point of that?
Because he didn't even interact with them, right? We'll see
Mhm.
later, but he
Yeah.
didn't really interact with them. So it was interesting that they would put it,
Mhm.
they would have that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so he strikes out at the hotel, so he has to sleep in his car. So he just drives to a random parking lot, or not a random parking lot, but he drives to the parking lot,
Hmm.
sleeps in the car, gets woken up by some of the not officials, but some of the workers for the tournament,
Yeah.
saying you're a little early for sign in, but
Mhm.
and then he goes to sign in and he meets with the lady working the sign in, and she says that she was there in 2006
Yeah.
at like the junior championships. And then, oh, for first week, I mean, I don't know how important any of this is. This is why I hate like me trying to
Sure.
recap the story,
Hmm.
not making sure that everybody understands what's happening, but also not wanting to over embellish the information.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we do see that he's very hungry.
Yes.
I mean, we already know he slept in his car,
Hmm.
so clearly he's down in his luck with money,
You got no
and
food.
then he doesn't have food either.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't know how important that is. I think it's just to show
How?
that there's a difference between. It's very much like the Prince and the Pauper,
Yes.
um, the storyline when it comes to this match,
Mhm.
and later on.
And you see, oh
So
yeah, you just see how destitute he is at this point in time too. So
mhm.
like, as even like it builds, because I think now when we start going, you can just really see how the paths diverge from one
Yes.
another coming up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then we jump back to 2006,
Hmm.
and we meet a young Art and Patrick, and they are doubles partners,
Yeah.
and they win the junior championships doubles for men's,
Hmm.
um, and they're you can see how close they are, and how I think it was interesting being that they kept jumping back from the present to the past.
Hmm.
How they because obviously they're all the same actors. They all fairly look the same, but it was just like a haircut or
Yeah.
maybe Art's haircut
Yeah.
that showed you that we're in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a good job of like they looked
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like all of them looked like the past scenes. They all looked tremendously younger. So I'm sure, yeah, the different hairstyle, makeup, and different hairstyle, different clothing style, and makeup will do wonders for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was
hmm
just like, how are they doing this at the same time almost? Because it
Yeah.
was well done. Yeah.
And that's what I was saying with the jumping back and forth. But anyway, so we meet them. They're very close friends. They're doubles partners. They're on their way to the women's finals match,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just talking about and Art saying how I know he's basically telling Patrick, I know you're gonna win, but at least give me a few rounds, a few sets, or
Yeah.
something like that, because
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother will be watching.
Yeah.
And you see, Patrick said, "You're just gonna throw your dying grandmother in my face, so like to curry favor."
Hmm.
Um, and then Patrick mentions that the reason why he wanted to watch this match, one, they both clearly love tennis, but it was just like he's kind of infatuated with Tashi Duncan.
Yeah.
And Art's like, "Who's that?" And he was like, "She's just," he says, "one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen."
Hmm.
Um, and then so they go sit down to watch the match, and it's Tashi versus whatever other finalist. I can't remember her. I think her name was Anna or something like that. But
Yeah. So
um,
that woman comes back because like she, later on, you see
yeah,
she does
yeah,
very
you
well
do
for
see it.
herself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we meet Tashi Duncan. She's like this 18-year-old phenom, that's like a tennis phenom, and you just see they both see her. Art sees her for the first time,
Hmm.
and you just see like they're like just wow,
Yeah.
they're just infatuated with her, like
Absolutely.
right off the bat.
And you see too, I think with this moment as well of like how in sync both these young men are, and then also like
Mhm.
kind of the closeness and intimacy they have while watching this. Because like when Patrick gets stunned by something Tashi does, you see him like grab his friend's like upper thigh a
Mhm.
little bit, and like
Yeah,
there's that's not necessarily an always reaction that two men might have unless they're very
Mhm.
close with one another. It's just
yeah.
yeah.
And so they watch her match, and they're just both infatuated with her, but fascinated at how she plays. I
Hmm.
think more Art, especially because he's more technical. Like when you'll see later him like talking about her actual game.
Yeah.
And so she wins her match, wins the junior championship match for women's. There's a party at her house later or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so they both go. They're sitting. They're sitting there, just kind of waiting for a moment to get a chance to talk to her. And this is where you first see it was like it's 2000 something. So initially, I thought it said it was 19 years earlier. That's what fucked me.
Okay.
Up.
Yeah.
Because I'm like 2000. Oh, okay, all right. And then I'm listening to the music. Like I'm gonna have to check to see how accurate this is. But it's my fault. It was 2006. So 13 years earlier. Because they mentioned Facebook, and I was just like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, like 2006. I think yeah.
Yeah, Facebook is 04. I literally in the theater. I was googling it. Yeah. I didn't have to call up Luca like, my man, you did a great job with like some of the facts.
Yeah, I'm like, you really got to check yourself.
But yeah, so they go to the party. They're kind of sitting in the cut, like because they're trying to get a chance to talk to her. And then at one point, Tashi goes off to get her drink. She's on the dance floor. They're watching her. And then she goes to get her drink from like a seat or something like that. And they both kind of race over to talk to her. And like Patrick is trying to play cool, like and then this is what I was saying. You see with Art, he's just complimenting her game and like kind of saying like the way she played, it was just like it was passionate, or like she roared when she hit the winning shot, and like he was like, that's something I've never heard before. Like so you can see like he's very much like he likes her, but I think he likes her for her passion in tennis, not just her beauty.
Yeah, I think it's
like he just has a different approach.
For sure. I think it's partially with Art as well, of him talking about like just seeing that the passion in her about all of that, and seems like that's masterful. So it's kind of like he's in awe of both her skill as a tennis player and more, versus Patrick is like even kind of like critiquing some of her decisions, like why are you bothering to play college first, just go right to pro, stuff like that. And so very different in this, and that you see this power dynamic that's happening between all three of them at this point in time too start to already form.
So they talk to her like she knows who they are, and like they're even that surprises them. And then like she's her dad calls her away to take a picture, and then like they kind of wait for her after the party. Patrick invites her to have he asked her if she smokes. She says no, but she was like, they asked, do you want to go hang out at the beach? So she goes with them. They talk for a bit, and this is where you get him like kind of pushing like, when are you going to go pro? And she says, well, I'm gonna go to Stanford. You find out that Art is also going to Stanford. And then Patrick is like, why would you play with those teenage girls who are like the best players in our high school? And she goes, well, there's more than just tennis at Stanford. And she's like, she doesn't want to just be someone that is good at hitting a ball with a tennis racket. So you see that like even though she is very passionate about tennis, she doesn't want to just be that.
Well, then Patrick calls her out too and is like, yeah, but you're trying to do that whole thing, focus on your career or focus on your schooling and all that, really. So you can see the taglines to sell Adidas shit, being like this, woman is like driven in so many ways, not just tennis. And he's like, I see, what you're plotting here a little bit. And then like, actually, now that I'm just saying that, I mean, when he first said it, I was like, no, it makes sense. She's going for schooling. But now seeing how she was throughout the entire movie, I'm like, no, he might have had a fucking point. Like, she is a plotter, man. She is devious, to say the least.
And so we find out that both Art and Tashi are going to Stanford next year, and then that Patrick is going to go pro. And so she leaves or whatever, and she mentions about the fact that, and it was like, this is talking about more about her passion for the sport. She was like, tennis isn't just a sport; it's a relationship or something like that. Like this, her philosophy on tennis. It was very interesting. She's only 18 years old, but she still has this very cerebral understanding of the sport, which I definitely didn't have at 18. I love basketball, but it was just like, bro, it's just. I mean, I would call it poetry in motion or something like that, but I didn't have that. Would articulate, basketball in the same way that you see this 18-year-old. Obviously, she's on her way to be a professional, so like she sees the sport way different than I would have. But it was just interesting to see that coming from such a young person.
I just don't know how much I trust her. I don't know how much I trust anything she says.
Because you've seen the whole film,
right? After seeing this film,
in this moment, it's 2006.
She is 5 steps ahead of everybody this entire movie, and I'm like, I'm like, yo, I don't trust a word this woman says anymore. I can't.
Liar.
100%. Like, what's real? What is real now? Yeah, that's how I feel after finishing this movie.
Oh, okay, it's funny. But yeah, so after they're on the beach, Patrick once again invites her to their room later because they're all staying at some hotel in Flushing. And they tell her room number, and then like she leaves. They go back to the room and like they're just hanging out. And Art keeps telling him, was just like, she's not coming, man. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? And then he goes like, well, what do you think's gonna happen? And then she's gonna come over here, or she's gonna make out with one of us, and the other one has to hide in the bathroom. And then like, so he's like, Art is very like, he's not believing that's gonna happen. Patrick is being very hopeful, and then they just get a knock on the door, and they both just freeze. Yeah. I think I looked and started laughing because I think it was also, I love the fact that like since they had to play the late teens to like early 30s, I think maybe. That's a lie. Hold on, late teens to 13. Yeah,
they were
so like late 20s or something, like early 30s.
Yeah, they were like 31, I think, at the end because they were like 17, 18 going into Stanford and whatnot. Yeah. Maybe 19 because of boarding school, but then then they were like at max like 31, 32 a year later.
So, but it was interesting to see them play such a myriad of ages, and it was like it was very much teenage boy. It was just like you invite the girl over, she actually comes, and now you're like, oh, I don't know if
they're scrambling around the room trying to clean up everything real quick. Like, oh fuck, fuck.
That's how I know I'm older because like I saw that room and I was like, that is. How dare you invite somebody
a young room like that?
Look at the mess that is this room.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah.
Even me at 18 was like, nah, fam, at least this gonna look nice. But that's just me. But yeah, so Tashi comes over and you see them kind of scramble to clean up a bit. And then they're just sharing one beer because Patrick mentioned that they had beer as like an incentive.
Yeah.
And then like, so they're just passing the beer along and getting to know one another. This is where you get more background about Tashi. So she's not necessarily rich, but yeah, obviously her tennis she's hoping like her tennis will propel her and her family into wealth.
Yeah.
And then we find out that both Art and Patrick met when they were 12 years old at boarding school and just have been friends ever since. We get a little embarrassing story. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Embarrassing story about how Patrick taught Art how to masturbate.
Well, I will say, like, Art was the one who was embarrassed by this, I think. Patrick, because the whole thing, too, like, you look at this whole thing of, like, Patrick is kind of giving Art, like, side looks and, like, glances and kind of, like, doing... Patrick, the actor, he had a very, like, this half smile he would always do. Like this, and he had this, like, coy half smile to where, like, Art's a little embarrassed, doesn't really want to reveal it. Patrick is kind of, like, almost proud of it and, like, enjoying the moment. And also he's enjoying Art's embarrassment in front of Tashi, 100%. But, like, even from, like, you get these, like, just the vibes between these characters. I was like, oh, I think they kind of, like, Patrick might have a little something for Art here as well. And Art probably does as well. He just is more embarrassed or doesn't want to admit it, kind of thing going on.
Well, I thought it was interesting when she mentioned if they had ever like hooked up. It wasn't a visceral, oh hell no, nothing like that. It was Art was just like, oh no, nothing. It was. I think I appreciated that because so often in these films when you have this like these like the men, as young men especially, have these underlying feelings for possibly another man. It is very much a visceral reaction to, oh no, like. But he was just like, it was very like, nope, nothing like that.
It's like this movie was much more. This movie was much more homoerotic, I guess, than I thought it was going to be. Because seeing the trailer, you see like what's going on with Zendaya, and you see what's going on with like her character Tashi and the two gentlemen, and they're both like going for it. But like this, I think this is why it's a good time to say it now. It was actually, it was about that for sure, but it was also a lot about the relationship these two young men had with one another too, and like them having that relationship, it not necessarily being fulfilled how they thought it might be fulfilled, or like how they might have even wanted, and then you see a lot more of like why that divide might even happen even later because of multiple reasons, one of which being Tashi, but others because there seemed to be some unrequited feelings or some feelings they're not really sharing with one another as well. It was like complex. I found this movie very complex with everything, like the emotions and feelings they all had for one another. And, still can't trust Tasha with a damn. But,
Yeah, I knew you couldn't trust her in this scene, but
Yeah, no, 100%.
so yeah, so after they run out of beer, Tashi stands up and she sits on the bed because they mentioned first that I mean you see this in the trailer. Um, she says, "Does this often happen that they go after the same kind of girl?" Because obviously they're both very interested in her. Um, and so she stands up, she sits on the bed, and she goes, "Come here!" Like she pats both sides of the bed next to her. And Art goes, "What do you mean? Or which one of you talking to?" Like, but Patrick immediately just kind of sits
Right
up.
over there.
And this is once again, this is why I love that. This is very much a if they're in their late teens, this is how a teenage boy would act. Like
100%. That's what they're like. They're puppy dogs. They're literally are puppy dogs, and she is like holding the leash 100% through this whole thing. It's impressive. Yeah.
And so they sit next to her, and like she turns to Patrick first to go kiss him, but then like he seems a bit eager, so she like switches to Art. A lot like I guess maybe like coy or shy, and not really like aggressive. And so like she starts kissing him, and then she turns back and she starts kissing Patrick, and then like she moves her hair back, and like so they both start kissing her neck. And then they start like moving to her. Both of them start moving to her lips and accidentally kiss one another.
Yeah, because she's like guiding them to do like a 3-way kiss, and then they kiss, and then back off all of a sudden.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And then so they continue like one of them kissing her while the other kisses her neck, and then like she kind of guides it again towards like the 3-way kiss, and like so now all three of them are kissing, and then she kind of just backs away and leans back and just kind of stares at her work. And this is like you can see like just the, and I think it's interesting, like you said, that it was like it's very much her like kind of noticing this this tension between them, this kind of unrequited or unspoken thing between them, and kind of getting that out of them, but also just being very manipulative as well.
100%. And like I don't know what Tashi's character truly wants at any point in time in this film. That's one thing. She wants tennis. Other than tennis, I don't know what she wants, because right now, like, well, you kind of know what she wanted to manipulate them. Like she wanted to manipulate them, for lack of a better term, but you don't really need it. Like to making out with one another and express that, because and she is so happy with herself. You can see it on her face. I think Zendaya does a phenomenal job showing how Tashi is feeling in this moment, and being like, she's so like satisfied, being like, yes, I was able to engineer this and like direct it how I wanted to direct it. And it's just like, wow, she is playing these men in like the most perfect way possible, for all of this.
Yeah. So as Art and Patrick are kissing, what's her name? Tashi is just sitting back watching. And then I think they realize at some point that she's not there anymore. They've just been kissing one another.
Yeah. Well, she said, okay, that's enough. Like literally then they're
okay.
And then she's the one to even say, okay, that's enough. And that's when they stop. It's not even them realizing it. That's why, dude, it's just multi-levels with this woman. You know what I mean? It's impressive. Yeah.
And so after they stop kissing, like she stands up and says, okay, I gotta go. And then they both ask her for her number, and she goes, I'll give my number to whoever wins the match tomorrow. And she was like, she doesn't care, but she yes.
She's
like a true home.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, look,
I think you're right. What she was saying, what you were saying earlier, was the fact that like she just loves tennis, and like she was, I guess, one trying to help them out with whatever unspoken thing between them, but also making sure that there's a good match tomorrow. Like she basically says, I just want to see some good fucking tennis. So whoever wins, that's who gets my number. And then so she leaves. And then immediately Art goes, remember you said you could let me win for my grandmother? And he goes, but that was ages ago. And then he stands up and you see that.
Why are you bringing up old?
Yeah, and then he stands up. Art stands up and he has a clear erection. And I'm just like, once again, it speaks to there being something between them that they just haven't explored. Not necessarily been like suppressing, but just haven't explored. And so I think we jumped to. Say it again.
I said no. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and then then it jumps to present day, I believe. Jesus, really quick. We see that Patrick, he's swiping through Tinder, And this is where we get more of that kind of like after, and this is interesting, after the scene in the hotel room and then the scene with the couple at the hotel, where he's swiping through Tinder and there's both men and women as options, and he just swiping until he gets a match, and then he gets a match with a lady. He drives to not his. Obviously, he doesn't have a hotel, so he just drives to her hotel, I guess. Or no, they meet up at a hotel, and as he's sitting there telling her about like his life as a professional tennis player, Tashi shows up, and she notices him. He notices her. And like, but they don't say anything, and then like, so she walks away, and then you can see he's distracted. The lady's talking about what she does, and he's just distracted. So he goes and talks to Tasha, and you get this immediate like kind of like she's very combative towards him, and she was like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And even I think you were saying about the relationship between Tasha and Art as a couple, but it was like. Patrick mentioned something about like, you want me here to like to shake him up or like to, to do something to Art. And she was like, well, not like this. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically it was kind of implying that Tashi was trying to like sabotage Art in a way. But like,
sabotage. I was trying to like push him, you know what I mean? Of like, so utilize this. So not actually sabotage as much as like be like, oh, he's here. You have to play really hard against him because he's here.
Mm-hmm. But she mentions like he already thinks I set this up to embarrass him. Mm-hmm. And he goes, didn't you? And he was like, well, not like this type of thing. Yeah. That's what it was. But so there's a combative exchange between them. She gets on the elevator. He goes back to the woman he was talking to. And he just starts kissing her, and like she's already like it seems like she's not there for it because like he obviously went and talked to some other woman in the middle of the date, and then like she just kind of just accepts it, and they start.
Yeah, man. I think part of it is like because she's looking at it and she's like, oh, he's not paying attention to me, but then he comes back and he kisses her and she like rejects it, but then she's like, well, she kind of feels validated, I guess, because he's with her instead of with the other woman that she saw him with. But it's like again. No one in this movie is everyone in this movie is dysfunctional. All right, everyone. That woman he's on the date with, she is dysfunctional because she's allowing this to happen. Like everyone's dysfunctional here. Yeah.
So then we jump back to 2007, which is about a year after all the three of them had met, and Tashi and Art are at Stanford now. Mm-hmm. We get and we find out that Patrick and Tashi are dating, which means that Patrick won the juniors challenge match, and it means that she gave him her number.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go on. I was going to say it's like even Tashi told Art, she's like, oh, you can win this, of that. And I think it speaks to like his personality you see. And it happens up later too. I'm just going to bring it up now before I forget with Patrick telling Art that he's a percentage player. He doesn't take risks. He doesn't necessarily. He just waits and tries to like get points how he can, and like he needs to like stop doing that to like become like kind of a better player because this is where, honestly, except for this one part and this is looking at it from like with real the real world eyes looking in, except for Art being a snake right here. He was like the one who I supported the most, like, he's just trying to, he's doing the best he can with whatever, but he is a fucking snake right now. 100%.
So so like I said, we find out it's a year later, they're in college. Patrick is on tour as a professional player. And so we get them at not a gym, but they're practicing. And this is another moment where you get like, what's his name? Art spits out his gum into the hand of his partner, like you mentioned earlier.
Yes, into Patrick's hand. It's like,
and then Art is like kind of badgering Patrick about whether or not him and Tashi have had sex yet. And Patrick is like, no, because she'd kill me. Like she told me she'd kill me if I told you or whatever. And then Art just says, well, give me a sign, right? And then we see that both of them have different serving styles, where Patrick is more loose or whatever. So he like waves the what is it, the baton? No, his racket.
Yeah, the racket.
Clearly I'm for the sport. I'm not that sports. Making myself before you got me. Shut up.
The man's
Yeah, so
yeah.
he waves his racket above his head before he serves.
Mm-hmm.
But the sign that he gives Art to let him know that he and Tashi have had sex is he places the ball in the center of the racket before he serves, which is what Art does.
Yeah.
He mentions that like Art he calls it a tick or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and so that's a sign that Patrick and Tashi have had sex.
Yeah.
And so you see kind of uh, initially Art like grins, and then I think when Patrick turns away, you see that grin kind of fade.
Yep.
You kind of see him like being like he's playing it well because obviously it was a competition he lost that he didn't get the girl, but he's still kind of pining after her. And
Yeah,
so
but
then
like it's hard because like that's is his best friend, and like he's also in love with his best friend's girl, and you're like, oh man, that's really shitty of you to be in this. Yeah, but you see it all the time.
I don't think I've ever been in that scenario because I don't know how. Like I don't think I could play it cool.
I don't think I've ever been in that scenario myself, but I've seen that scenario play out with a lot of different other friends and guys, and it's like, oh man, like it's not the best, when you see when shit hits the fan with all of that. Yeah.
But yeah, so then we jump to what's his name? Them two in college. Art takes Tashi out to lunch or whatever, and this is where you see him kind of being, like you said, a snake. Where slithering, we get it. Jesus, you're talking to one snake at a fucking
partial tongue, all right, all right.
Yeah, so he takes her out to lunch, and he just starts planting these seeds in her head that what's his name? That Patrick is being unfaithful on tour, or he's not taking this serious or whatever.
Yeah.
And then a few days, Tashi had mentioned that he'll be visiting in a certain amount of weeks or whatever, and then maybe they should all get dinner.
Yeah.
And then so he kind of plants that seed in her head. She walks away like. And it's interesting. I think it was one of those things where, like, one, she was frustrated to find out the news, but also, like, well, who told you that I want to be, like, with him like that anyway? Like, we're fucking 18, 19.
Yeah. She only likes him because he's a pro tennis player. Let's be real.
Yeah. Leave young Tashi out of this. I'm allowed in 2019. Okay, no slander before 2020.
The whole time. She's a mastermind this whole time. All right. It's just...
And so shortly after this exchange between Tashi and Art, Patrick comes to visit. And once again, you see that he takes Art takes Pat out to lunch or whatever before he meets up with Tashi. And he starts mentioning about Art says, oh, I don't know how serious she is about this, about you guys dating or whatever. Because Patrick is on some like, she's, made me a changed man. I kind of want to settle down and stuff like that.
Well,
and
I'll say, what are they eating while they're having this conversation?
Churros.
And churros are a little phallic. I'm just saying, because there's a lot of phallic. Oh, yeah, no, there's...
you could be.
There's just so much of, like, there's bananas and hot dogs and churros getting eaten whenever these men are talking. No, dude, no, dead ass. Like, they did it on purpose. There's no way they didn't do this.
Banana next to another man without being a sign.
This whole... Yeah. There's a lot. There's some stuff that needs to be explored here. Oh,
yeah, fair enough. He did eat his churro too, which was just all right.
Yeah, he made eye contact while he ate his churro. All right, just.
But yeah, so so after they have kind of this exchange talking about the relationship between Patrick and Tashi, Patrick asks Art to take him over to Tashi, and right before when they're in the lunch, like in the dining hall, you do see like this poster that says the Duncanator and it's of Tashi, because she's like the phenom on campus as well.
Yeah.
There's just something I wanted to highlight because it'll be brought up in a minute.
Sure. Go on. And also, I was saying too, like before he takes her to Tashi, Patrick knows exactly what the fuck Art is doing. Like Patrick calls him a snake himself. He's like, but Patrick, but like, and it's kind of interesting and like. I guess mature of Patrick at this point to be like, look, I get it. She's great. Like you kind of have feelings for her, but you're still like my best friend. So like, fuck it. And he's like, it kind of turns me on too. But, but he kind of like, it takes it all in stride while he says all this, which is interesting. And like, as ways to take it, I guess pretty decent way to take it.
Mm-hmm. Because how else? Either you don't talk to the girl, you keep it secret, or you do it like how he's doing it, very transparent,
Mm-hmm.
And he is very wary of the fact that his friend is hurting, which you can appreciate as as well. So you're right, it is very mature of Patrick, in that way. So the next scene we get, Patrick is in Tashi's room, and they kind of start an intimate moment where they're talking about, as like they're kissing and making out, undressing and stuff like that. She's mentioning, he mentions that it's lonely on tour, and she says, "Is that why you haven't won anything?"
She's just the whole time being like, "Is that why your overhand serve sucks? Is that why you can't fucking rally? Is that why you can't do shit?" I'm like, damn, the whole time.
It was like, a woman will really fuck up an intimate moment. Like, God damn, why don't you come out like my dad? Why don't you do that right now? You're just like your damn father. Why? Right now? That's what we're doing?
Yeah.
So as they're talking, like he once again brings up the fact that because she says that Art, he's gotten better since he's been at Stanford or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's a better player. He's handsome as all this. And then Patrick just goes, "Are we still talking about tennis?"
Yeah.
And then she says something that was interesting. She goes, because he says, initially he says, "Do I need to be worried about you and Art?"
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Well, I won your number, so I'm not worried at all."
Mm-hmm.
And then Tashi says, "You always think you won before the match is over."
Yeah.
And then this is when he goes, "Are we still talking about tennis?"
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "We're always talking about tennis." And he was just like, "Well, could we not?"
Yeah.
And then like this is just now she's all turned off, and she goes like, I need to, do my stretches and my pregame warm up before the match.
Yeah. Which, for the record, having sex an hour before your match is a terrible idea. All right. I'm just saying, any sport event, I think having sex right before it, awful idea.
I like loose knees, baby. Leave me alone. But they get into a back and forth argument about one, because he was like, "I don't need you to be my coach," and she was like, "Well, you do need a coach."
Mm-hmm.
And then like she was like, "What do you want me to be? Your cheerleader, your girlfriend, your fuck buddy? Like, what do you want from me?" Type of thing. She mentions basically saying like, "If we're gonna be together, I don't want you to be garbage at tennis."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And then like he mentions that the reason why like she may like Art is because Art will do whatever she says. Where Patrick was just like, "I'm not gonna be your fan. I'm your peer."
Yeah.
Like that where we both play tennis is like, I'm not carrying your purse behind you, trying to be like the president's wife type of thing. Like I'm also a competitor as well. I also play tennis. I'll never be your fan type of thing. So maybe you should be with Art. And so like he leaves her or whatever, because she was like, "Is that what you think?" or whatever. And like he says, "Yeah," and then he leaves. And then you see like as he leaves, like she's like standing strong when he was there, but then like you see like tears in her eyes.
Yeah.
And I was interested because like you said, for the most part, she's always steps ahead in everything that she does. So it's just like, I don't think. What do you think? What that meant?
I didn't really see the tears. I thought they were getting ready to have like angry sex, or like,
that's what I thought.
Yeah. And then he walked away, and then she was like, and I do think a little bit is that like from that, if anything, and again, I'm not trying to say this is a terrible person. Tashi was like, "You mean I can't just control this man and have him do whatever I want him to do?" And
okay,
to that, because she can kind of, and she had been able to do that more or less with Art, and you see even later. But like for this, she couldn't just control Patrick exactly how she wanted to. She could get pretty damn close. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, but not exactly. It was like
I thought that was just a very interesting scene, like her reaction to it. Because like I said, I thought it was like them talking shit to one another who have like some passionate sex. It was like that's the only way, not the only way, but the only way like she would have sex with him in that moment was to be kind of frustrated. But yeah, so they have a fight. She goes to her game, and like he even tells her like he wasn't coming to her match or whatever. So Art is there with some of her teammates and obviously the rest of the school or whatever watching the match. And then at some point in the match, like she just oversteps or something, and like she just cracks her knee.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say, this is why I wanted to go back and watch it, because of the fact that I thought it was her left knee that got injured. Because it was like earlier in the movie, I thought the scar was on the left knee.
I think
but then
it was on the right, from what I remember. Yeah.
I think we're just once again trying to pay attention to little things in the beginning.
Yeah.
I assume they will pay off later.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, it was also
on your left. When you looked at it, it was on your left. That might have been.
I think I hurt my left knee.
Yeah.
Also, I'm getting sick and tired of the knee abuse in film. Okay, I'm a petition.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, so she injures her right knee. Art like rushes over, takes her to like the trainer's office or whatever. You just see her knee bandaged up, like she's in a lot of pain, and you kind of hear the coach and the trainer kind of whispering about like kind of next steps and like what this will mean.
Yeah.
And then at some point, what's his name? Patrick comes in, like he finds her and like immediately like she just yells at him to leave. But he's like, just hear me out. And then like Art kind of speaks up and says, "Get the fuck out, Patrick."
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, this is where Art's not the best.
And then yeah, so I think God damn it, the jumping back and forth is confusing. Anyway, so I think it does jump to the present for a bit, and then it jumps back to right after her injury, and you see her and Art like kind of practicing, and she scolds him for taking it easy on her. And then like, so he takes it a bit harder on, so he's like, all right, fine. He relents.
Yeah.
He'll take it like actually as if he wants to win. And then like, so he uses the fact that like, yeah, she can hit the ball just fine, but like some of her lateral movements aren't as great. So he kind of uses that to his advantage. And like, she falls down, but like, I think she kind of respects him for, pushing her, but then like she walks away for a bit and you see just a bunch of tears in her eyes because like she's clearly in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And she's kind of trying to think what's going to happen going forward.
Yeah. I think, she realizes at that moment she's not going to be able to play tennis professionally. She's going to have to stop being a player. Yeah.
And so I think we jump a few years and we see Art is training he has a coach now. He has his own private coach because I think it's like senior year or something like that.
So yeah, maybe actually it might be a few. He might even be like first year pro or something like that at this point.
Okay, I know it's like 08 or something like that, I believe.
Yeah.
And he has a coach or whatever, and we see that Tashi is coaching herself. Like obviously she wasn't able to go pro because of her injury, but like she's coaching somebody else.
Yeah.
And so they'll go out to dinner to kind of reminisce. They mentioned that they haven't really talked to Patrick. Either one of them hasn't really talked to Patrick. And then he asked her to be his kind of like assistant coach or something like that. And she asked him, it was like, well, she's wary of because he was like, are you still in love with me? And like he kind of danced and he basically just says who wouldn't, but he doesn't answer the question. And then they go out like I guess she walks him to his car.
Well, I think maybe like he was driving both of them because they were both there was the only car in the parking lot, so I'm assuming they like both walked over there together, or drove there together.
And then like, he just tells her that he wants to kiss her, but he doesn't want to be a bad friend. And you see this like, I get that because I've been there. Like I don't want to mess up with whatever we currently have.
Yeah.
And Akio lost out on a lot of things because of it, but like she throws him a bone. She walks over to him. And she says, "What bad friend?" And like, so they start kissing.
Or bad friend.
And
she says, "Bad friend to who?"
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Everything this woman says, man. Everything this woman says. It's locked up here. No, but
Your Honor, see page 16.
Yeah, and like so with that too. I mean, I look at it from here a little bit, even more of. Tashi is like looking like Tashi likes him in this scenario and maybe love. I don't really know if she loves either of these guys or but she likes or loves him in this scenario because how much he loves her. You know, like that's why she likes him, or that's why she's kind of is because like she kind of needs this at this point because like she can't play tennis like she was. This is a big part of her life. So now she like this guy who will like love her and support her and like be there for her. And also he is a good tennis player and he has the potential to be a great tennis player. So she can live her tennis career through him. But like that's why she kind of goes for this guy now at this point in time, from how I see it. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. And then so it jumps quickly to the present, and what's his name? Patrick goes there while she's like sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and he mentions that he's staying with the woman from the night before, like the night before, or
at her house or whatever. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. And then like so he asked her to come outside, and he just basically asked her to coach him, because he says that art's good, but like he's probably going to retire soon. He's not really that passionate about it anymore. Yeah. And then he once again mentions the fact that like basically you don't want to, like when he retires, you don't want to fall into irrelevancy with him.
Yeah.
And like basically the only reason you are with him is because of the fact that he is somebody with potential in tennis, because of the fact that like you are trying to basically live your career through him. So if he stops playing, what does that mean for you? And then like she kind of, and he it's funny because he keeps mentioning the fact that she doesn't love him anymore, and then like you can see it, and it because even like art shows that he really doesn't, because he can't figure out what does she still love him, or like if he didn't play tennis, would she still love him, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then like she mentions the fact that it's embarrassing that Patrick, she tells him to quit because of the fact that it's embarrassing that he's his age. Still, he comes from wealth, but kind of acts like he's this like tennis bad boy that came from nothing. Yeah, doesn't have anything, and it's kind of just pathetic at this point because you're not 20 years old anymore. You're in your 30s. And then, but she kind of walks away from him, and then he stops her and gives her his number if she changes her mind. And then once she walks away in slow motion as if she blew up the building. Slow motion was unnecessary. A lot of this fucking film. Yeah. But yeah, then it jumps back to, before they walk away, Patrick mentions Atlanta. She says, "Does Art know about Atlanta?" Or whatever. And then this is where it's jumping back and forth both ways, but it was just like, it jumps to Atlanta 2011, where we see Tashi is now his coach, Art's coach. And I think they've also started dating. And she's married. She's married or whatever.
Well, she has a ring. That's engaged, you mean, or whatever? Or
maybe engaged. Yeah, you're right.
She's engaged at that point. Yeah,
I just know she has a ring.
Yeah.
And so like they're practicing for one of Art's matches or whatever, and we see Patrick come up and kind of sit in the audience. And then,
sorry, you might have been able to say, but as soon as he sits down, all of a sudden Art starts fucking hitting that ball.
Yeah,
100%. Like he sits down, then Art starts going much harder. She was literally telling him like, "Hey, like go a little harder." And then Patrick sits down, and Art just boom goes like into that mode a little bit here. Yeah,
yeah. And then so it's, like I said, it's jumping back and forth between, but like so in the present. The match, their match has been, the final match has been rained out, and so we see Art just sitting in the sauna.
Yeah,
and what's his name? Patrick comes in with no towel at first, and he was just like, "I know we're against one another, but I just kind of want to talk. Like we've been here for a week and haven't said one word to one another when we were so close in the past."
Oh yeah, and there's across the board too. I don't think you see Patrick or Art's penis, but there are a lot of penises in this.
Yeah. But so they're having this exchange in the sauna in the present about how like Patrick is saying, and I thought it was interesting because it was like I was really hoping for a reconciliation between them, because it was like when you first meet them when they jump back to 2006 at the doubles the pairs tournament or whatever, it was like they seemed like really, really good friends, and it was just like it was tragic to see them. I don't want to say that Tashi really broke them up, but it was like tragic to see them. I know.
So you don't want to say that, huh? That's true.
I don't want to say it. Okay, I'll give you a sign.
She admitted herself that she was in fact a homewrecker.
I'll give you a sign.
Yeah.
But anyway, But so like in this moment, you do say, but also I think it's the fact that the actor, or I don't know if Patrick himself, like he adopted this thing as a character, but it was like he does have this coy smile that he does where you can't tell if he's like it seems like he has something on you type of thing,
Yeah, all the
right?
time. Yeah.
And it was
And
I
he did.
think that's what I was like. I was taking him at his word, like he was because he was saying he missed playing with art and stuff like that. And it was like I took it serious just because of the fact that like at the end of the day they were best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then like he'll have this smirk or something like, or like just the side of his mouth will go up, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, is he lying to me, or is he like he's about to drop a bomb on me or something like that?
That literally is every time, every interaction that man has is like, the character of Patrick is, it doesn't matter, guy, girl, friend, lover, whatever he does, that's just his that's his swagger that he has going on right there.
Yeah. But then we get, so basically before we finish in the sauna in present day, it jumps to 2011, the tournament, some tournament that Art's playing in.
That's Atlanta. That was the one that he sat down.
Atlanta, sorry, Atlanta.
Yep.
Apologies. Because we can just run through this quick. So we see Tashi, she's sitting at a bar, having a drink or whatever, and Patrick walks past the window. They stare at one another. He comes and sits next to her, and then I think they start kissing or something like that.
She belongs to the courts. That's where this lady needs to go. Back on them tennis courts. All right, put her back in the tennis courts.
And then we see Art sees them. Like he's walking, through the lobby or whatever. He sees them sitting at the table, like kind of talking to one another, and then he turns away because some fan wants his autograph, which is funny. Like she just snatches her boyfriend's hat off.
Yeah.
And then so he signs it, and when he turns back, they're gone.
Yeah, which
so he's always
How can this man be in this relationship now, and how is none of this stuff getting addressed? This is because then later too. I'm just gonna say it now, so I don't have to stop to say it later. But then later, when he sees that she's not in the fucking hotel room that they're both sharing at midnight, where the hell you going? Come on, how are you just letting that slide? Yeah.
So then after that's what happened in Atlanta in 2011, and then it jumps to the present day. They're in a sauna having this exchange, and this is where we get Art. It was kind of the coldest you've ever seen him, where he was just like, we were never peers or something like that. It was just like, I'm one of the top players, and you just happen to play. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was cold, and I was like, okay.
I was like, we don't play at the same level, or we don't need to play. I'm not at whatever. Yeah, it was cold. He was
like, even if I haven't beat you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
type of thing. And I think it was like you said, and I think you can appreciate a 3-dimensional character, right? It was like nobody's perfect.
Yeah,
everybody has these flaws in their character that hopefully they're working on. Maybe they're not, but for this character, Art. Yeah, you saw him in his youth be very conniving because he wanted the girl, he didn't get the girl. But it always seemed like he let her especially walk over him, or even Patrick walk over him
a little bit. Yeah.
So to have this kind of moment of him being like, no more, right? Because he already has these. What obviously he saw them in Atlanta, so he has these inklings about what's been going on behind his back. He just hasn't said shit because in his mind, he still got the girl.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they have this exchange in the sauna. Then they leave. I think it jumps to Tashi, she's putting their young daughter to sleep. She sends her mom to her room or whatever, and then she goes to their room. And Art basically says, "Tell me it doesn't matter." The fact that whether this tournament doesn't matter if I beat Patrick or not. Will you still look at me? And it was once again, it's been this whole thing about him trying to decide if this woman loves him for him or what his career means to them.
Could you imagine being in a relationship for 13 fucking years? And then that's what you're I guess technically 11 or 10 years.
Probably less. Probably, yeah, when it's at least 8, maybe.
I would say
because 13 is 2006.
Yeah, so let's say 9 years. You know what I mean? They have a daughter together. They're a power couple, and he just wants validation from her. And obviously, that's also his problem. Is he needs validation from himself. He needs to work on his own character flaws, blah, blah, blah. But 9 years of him just being just love me for me, damn it. Just love me for me. No. No, fuck off. Be better at tennis, bitch. You know, like.
But then, like, yeah, so he's kind of asking, but he just tells her, and it was interesting because he goes, I'm going to say something that's going to make you mad.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what Patrick had said to her earlier about being his coach. But he just tells Tashi that he's going to retire this year after the Open. Like, he'll still go through to play the Open. They'll still try their hardest to get it. But whether or not he gets it, he wins the U.S. Open, he's going to retire.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it's parallels to what Patrick was saying about art, and like what that means for Tashi in her fight, to have a tennis career.
Yeah.
And then they it was weird, but it was like I thought they were gonna have sex or whatever, like, because they start kissing, but then he just kind of like just asked to be held.
Yeah. Well, like he goes over and it's like, yeah, this is my decision for whatever. But then he's like, they're like starting to hook up, but like it's not. He just wants to, and he even says, he's like, I know that I play for both of us. He's like, I know this. I know that you live vicariously through me. I know all of this. And then they start with this moment because it seems like he's taking some power and control, but then he kind of can't in that relationship dynamic. So then it turns into like, okay, well, just hold me. And then her dropping that bomb on him. He was like, and you're my coach, coach me. He does say, you're my coach, coach me. So once he says that, then she's like, yeah, if you lose tomorrow, I'm leaving you. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so he just asked her to hold him until he falls asleep.
Yeah.
And then we get a title card that says midnight. She kind of sneaks out of their room. She goes to her pocket of like whatever she was wearing earlier. She pulls out the phone number from Patrick. I guess she texts him whatever. He comes to the hotel. She hops in the car and they drive away. And you see like the fucking winds blowing.
Yeah,
like
crazy windstorm is why that game got delayed.
Yeah, and so like as they're driving away, she just basically initially Patrick is like, assumed that they were gonna have sex. Like, why else would you text me at midnight? But she was like, no, I want you to lose the match tomorrow. Basically, Art needs this. If he's gonna make one last run to the U.S. Open, he needs this for his confidence or whatever. So I want you to lose. And then like Patrick's frustrated because he's like, what the fuck? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Then two, because obviously he's in dire straits. He needs that money way more than the Donaldsons do.
Yeah. What's funny, he says too, he's like, this is worse than you sleeping with me, because now you're like bringing in like hit Art's integrity as an athlete, into question about this as well. Like, he's like, yeah, fuck me or whatever, but don't like tell me to lose and like give this man a false victory, which is interesting because you just see like the dynamic of these like professional athletes across. And I'm sure, honestly, that's not too far away from the truth. I'm sure.
I agree. Yeah.
Like I would rather, there's things you would rather, and like, yeah. So
well, because it was like, think about it. They're already doing this tournament to gain his confidence, right?
Yeah.
For somebody to baby him through a tournament that he knows that nobody is like, come on, what do we, that's not going to help your confidence.
100%.
He already had to, in his mind, downgrade to play in this tournament. Yeah. Like, he literally he got bypassed through because of his celebrity, not because of his quote unquote talent.
Yeah.
Right. Because even there's mention, Patrick mentions, he gets some call and he was like, are you just happy that Donaldson is here?
Yeah.
Like, do you not really care to actually officiate right? But yeah, so like they have a back and forth in the car. And goddamn, we need to rush through this. This is not that serious. It is, but it's
almost
not.
over.
Yeah. And so she asked to be like for him to pull over so she can get out. And like, so she gets out. He tries to follow her. Like, he says something to her. She walks back, spits in his face, and then they start making out in this windy ass.
Yeah.
This windstorm. Like, if y'all go inside, Jesus Christ. But then, so they end up having sex in the back of his car. And then she mentioned, she was like, so are you gonna do it? Are you gonna lose? And he goes, you won't know.
Yeah. She's like, how do I know you're going to? He's like, you're not going
to. Yeah. And then like, so she goes back to their hotel room. She goes into their room and he's not, Art's not there.
Yeah. Oh, is Art running around on these streets? Is Art running around doing God knows what? No. Where is Art? asleep in the room with their daughter, being a good fucking father. All right, all this shit was like fine when you're young. You have a fucking life and a child now together. All right, you need to get your shit together. All right, that's my feeling.
Get it together. Get it all together.
I don't care what you do with it, but just get your shit together. Yes.
But then, so we jump back to the tournament again. So, like, throughout the movie, we've gone through the entire match. So, like, the first set, Patrick won. The second set, Donaldson kind of comes back.
Yep.
And I think maybe it's what you're right. And my complaint with the linear storytelling was kind of premature, because it is very much in their actual story. You see one of them up, one of them down when it comes to Tashi.
Yeah, you get that.
And then this final set, as we've gotten here, the tennis match is very much paralleling what's going on in the story. So I didn't see it at the time, but I can see it now.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it was more frustrating because I just cared about the build up, and then we'll get to the now when we get there.
Yeah.
But as far as stylistically, that makes a lot more sense. I agree with you. And so this is the final set, and then this is where it jumps, because it's also this non-linear storytelling is happening as the match is going, like we said.
Yeah.
And so, like she said, how will I know if you're gonna basically throw the match? And he was like, you'll get a sign. And so, like we said, Patrick has a very unique serving style where he waves the racket above his head. And then, so he's been doing that the whole match. And then this one time, he holds the ball at the center of the racket.
Well, that's different. No, sorry, just slightly different, if I may, because he's throwing the match because he's doing the faults and he's like knocking. He's fucking
yeah.
So he's fucking up the serves, and then Patrick, in my mind, is like, nah, fuck this. I don't really want to do this anymore. So then he makes direct eye contact with Art, and then he does the center of the ball thing, which is the same way he told Art back in the beginning that he fucked Tashi. So then that's why Art's like, oh, fuck you, asshole, because Patrick was just like, no, I fucked your wife. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then he lets him win, because then now they're in the tie part, because now we're in like that level a little bit. Yeah.
But I think it also is, like you were saying, what I didn't notice in the Atlanta scene, when as soon as Patrick got there, Art started really competing a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Patrick was doing. He was like, I really want, if we're going to win this, it's because I'm not throwing it. It's because you actually won it.
I completely agree that that's what Patrick's mind was. Patrick at first was going to throw it, and then he said, no, fuck this. That's not fair to Art. And then that's why he held it in the middle, to get Art pissed off. So then they'd actually have a legit match where if Art wins, it's because he actually wins. So now my question with all of this is, did Tashi know this the whole fucking time?
Oh, God. But yeah, so we get this last, I think it's like game match point or whatever.
It's not match point. So how tennis works is now it's 6-6. So then whoever gets the next one wins it all, or something like that. Yeah. So so they don't win. We don't know who wins from what happened.
I think we do. So I feel like Homeboy definitely Art hit the ball.
I don't think he actually won the game.
And he hit the ground.
So you're talking.
And then he got caught.
Yeah, then he got caught. So I don't think that was the last point, though, on the match, though, because that doesn't really make sense. Because also, I mean, he jumped over the net and like hit a ball. Like, that seems like an
Hey man, have you not played Mario?
This is Mario tennis. God.
The man fucked his wife. Let him have it. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so we get this now that Art's riled up. We get this final volley between the two, and it was like, as they're hitting it back and forth, you do see, even though Art was upset, he starts smiling, and it was as a friend. I was like, you do see them, like Patrick had said in the song. It was like, I miss playing with you, and I think you see kind of a lot of the whatever past traumas they've had, or like issues that they've had. It's kind of melting away, and they're just enjoying. Yeah. It's back to it's interesting because Tashi had mentioned that in the beginning, talking about tennis being a relationship between, and in the moment they just go, those two players go somewhere, right? When she was talking about her juniors championship match, and I think that's possibly what it was. It was just like a lot of all that bullshit melting away, and it was just two athletes playing this game, very well, and it was like that's what you see. So like they kind of regress back to the double, like the 2006 of them playing, or even 2007 or whatever, when they were in college, where it's just like they're just a love of tennis. Yeah, there's like fuck sponsors, fuck how much the prize money or anything like that. It was just like kind of this love of tennis between two players, and it was like the kind of that relationship. And then we get like they're like getting closer to the net as they volley back and forth, and then Patrick kind of lobs it up a bit, and this is where you get Art like jumping basically over the net to hit it.
Yeah,
and then he hits the ball, but what's his name? Patrick catches him.
Yeah, because he's tripping.
And then they kind of just hug, and then you get Tashi like screaming out the same way she did that Art had mentioned when she won her juniors match, and then it kind of just like freeze frame like it's fucking Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban,
and it cuts the credits. Yeah.
I was just like, was that was leading up to like, get the fuck out of
Well, see, that's the thing. So that when I first saw that, I was like, wait, what? But now, like, because when Patrick catches Art, both of them are hugging, and like they actually like hug one another, and they're both smiling because it's kind of like they both went back to like, I think really at the end of the day, I'm going to say this is canon, they both realize they don't need Tashi anymore, so they can just leave it on out of there themselves. And like now it's just going to be Art and Patrick enjoying their fucking lives together because they've broken Tashi's spell. But no, I really, really what I think is like, it's just because there is that like that passionate, crazy play, and like that's why Tashi's just so fucking pumped about it. And like, but I think that's why they fade the credits, because I know actually, well, even while we were talking about this, I looked it up. Wikipedia says that Art won it, but Time and Time and Vulture both say that we don't know who actually won it. So I'm
initially because before the movie even started, I checked to see if there was a post credits.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get out. This is hour 6. I'm being born in the movie thing.
Yeah,
but it was just like it mentioned the fact that it was like in that article I found, it was like it was supposed to be ambiguous. It's kind of like it's obviously bigger than like winning the game or whatever. So like I said, I got the thing from Wikipedia, and like I said, I watched it right before this to kind of get a recap of everything.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did pay attention to like I said, you're right. When he jumped, he was kind of over the net, but he did hit the ball and it hit the ground. Yeah. And I think that's why people were cheering, right? And then they embraced. But I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't know if it sparkled with everyone.
Yeah. Well, also, it might have even been like, since that was like the next one, I think 1 point wouldn't have won it. You know what I mean? I think they needed to keep playing after that point as well.
Yeah.
But that is Challengers, the movie. Apparently, I had a lot more to say about this than I thought I was going to, so this one ran a little longer. My bad. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. We always like to go back to our original rankings at the end of every movie to see if they changed. Mike, you gave it a 3 out of 5. You keeping it? You changing it? What do you think?
I think I'm gonna boost it up to 3.5. I think I appreciate it from once it having taken a step back. I appreciate how the game emulated the story. I think it was just like that initial view, and it was just like I want to get to this story. Right. The tennis match for the most part doesn't really mean much to me if I don't have this background.
Yeah.
But having watched it again and kind of seeing it and talking about it is why I appreciate having conversations with other people, because I get other perspectives. So I really did enjoy that part of the storytelling. Like I said, the performances were really great. I'm not familiar with either of the two young men that were there, but I'm curious to see what they do next.
Yeah.
And then Zendaya, like I said, it's very nice to see her transition into more adult roles. And I'm curious to see where she goes as well. So I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna boost it to a 3.5.
Nice. Yeah. For me, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm going to stick with my 4 out of 5. I think it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely parts of it, it was thrilling and romantic. Why am I not giving it a 4.5 out of 5? Probably because this just isn't really necessarily my cup of tea in a movie. So that really might be what it comes down to. I can absolutely see why there were people who would say this movie is amazing. And it's a great movie. It's probably, I'm giving it a lower rank because it's just not necessarily my cup of tea as much, but I respect the hell out of it and thought it was very good. Everything I said goes from before. They all did phenomenal. But again, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are the Two Meddling Kids. You can reach out to us at Two Meddling Kids on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can email us at twomeddlingkids@gmail.com. Mike, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and Hunt.comics also on Instagram and TikTok. But we'll be back next week with a brand new movie. Catch everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.